Zac Efron.
Zac Efron.
Zac Efron.
Zac Efron.
Logan.
Bolton. Mr. Phillip Carlisle.
And I'm late. So if every night you're shaking as you lie in bed.
So a year ago today, I was actually at East High in Utah with some friends. I was able to visit the school, which was mind-blowingly awesome. So it felt very appropriate to be making this video a year later in Troy's memory. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new. My name is Ali, and today, as you can see by the title, we are ranking every single Zac Efron character.
Whoa!
Now I know what you might be thinking. Ali, you have so many videos on your channel about self-love and self-worth and body confidence and mental health. None of that matters. This is the most important video I will ever make. Basically, if you don't know, I'm in Melbourne where we are in the midst of a 6-week, very intense lockdown. Basically, I've been in my house since March, and so it's been limited to the kind of videos that I wanted to make. Things have been really hard, both out in the world, obviously, and also in my personal life lately, so I just wanted to sit down and make a video that would be lighthearted and fun. So without further ado, these are my tiers. First, we obviously have God tier. That one's unshakable. God tier is just the top. You can't get any higher than that. Second up, we have heart eyes emoji. You know, he's cute. We've got a little crush on him. It's just not quite as iconic as God tier. Thirdly, we have thank you but no. This tier is named after the legendary moment in Legally Blonde the musical where Elle realizes her own self-worth. You know, she's saying to Warner, I can appreciate you, but not for me.
Though I dreamed of this day long ago, now my answer is thank you, but no.
Kind of like a thank you next moment. Next we have Flop Doodle.
What are you looking at, Flop Doodle?
I knew as soon as I wanted to make this video that this was going to be one of the tiers because it's just one of the standout moments in The Greatest Showman for me and kind of represents that. It's like a bit of a flop. And then finally I had to give a whole new category down the bottom for 2020. I feel like it goes without saying this tier is just the worst. So let's get into ranking. I can't believe we're starting with 17 again because I think this is potentially the peak of Zac's career.
Sup?
That first scene when young Mike, Zac's character, drives up in his brand new Audi with his made over clothes. I think everyone in that moment, the guys wanted to be him and the girls wanted to be with him. I think the only thing missing from this movie is an early 2000s movie makeover montage scene where they're like at the mall and he's trying on different kind of aesthetics.
We're going shopping.
Really?
Yes, your shirt is bedazzled.
Dazzled with rhinestones.
I would have loved to have seen him try out a nerdy look, a surfer look, an emo look while his friend is sitting there like, no, like go back into the dressing room and just, you know, coming out in different looks. And he comes out, we don't see him, but his friend's like, that's it. And then cut to the Audi scene.
Picture yourself in the living room, super set out for you. Hear a call of a lifetime ring.
That's just my personal preference. If they ever remake it, Hollywood, you can use my idea. Anyway, I really do think Zac was at his peak in this movie. He is so beautiful, but also his acting had really, really grown.
From that day on, nothing can ever be that bad. Because I had you.
But my favorite moment in this movie is, of course, the cafeteria scene where he puts Stan in his place.
Stan has a small wiener.
I quote that way too often. All that being said, no surprise, Mike O'Donnell from 17 again is going to the God tier. Next up we have Baywatch. And I feel like Baywatch just really tried too hard to be like 21 Jump Street. It had 21 Jump Street potential, but it just missed it. Also, Zac in this is just too big for my liking. Not to body shame, but he's just too ripped for me. And we've learned since then that, like, you know, he wasn't happy and he was not eating carbs. So for that, I'm gonna say thank you, but no. For now, because, you know, they tried. Next up we have the Lorax, and I wasn't going to include this, but it gave me two of my favorite pop culture moments of all time. Firstly, the time that Zac walked the red carpet of a kids movie and dropped a condom on that red carpet in front of everyone. What a silly boy.
Oh, whoops! Oh, I dropped my monster condom that I used for my Magnum Dom.
My other favorite moment is Zac and Taylor on Ellen, because even to this day, I can't hear Pumped Up Kicks without hearing their lyrics.
Every single time I come on this show, it's really weird, all because of Ellen.
I'm pretty sure the Lorax has a really good message. I don't remember which Zac's character was, but I know it's something to do with like climate change. So we'll give it a respectable thank you, but no. Next up we have the first High School Musical. Now I have split High School Musical 1, 2, and 3 into 3 categories because to me, Troy in each one is very different. I just wanted to be able to address them each individually. So first High School Musical Troy. He's cute, but he doesn't sing. He's not really confident yet. Like he kind of ditches Gabriella at points, he ditches his friends at points.
Gabriella is not important. I'll forget about her. I'll forget the audition and we'll go out and get that championship.
You know you're getting old when you start to think that Coach Bolton might be hotter than Troy himself. That's just in the first one though, because Zac is like an actual baby in that now. So I'm gonna put him in heart eyes emoji. He's cute, I love him, he's beautiful. But he's just not God tier yet, you know? Next up is At Any Price. I have to be honest, I haven't seen this movie. If I wanted to watch something with Dennis Quaid in it, I would obviously watch The Parent Trap. And as far as car movies go, I think we all know that the most iconic car movie is Herbie Fully Loaded. So for that, it's going to flop doodle. Next up, we have Charlie St. Cloud. This was his first movie after the High School Musical franchise, and it just wasn't that good. His character did cause a motor accident that killed his brother. So I'm already terrified of cars and car accidents, so that to see was a lot. I wouldn't watch it again. So for that, flop doodle. Now we have High School Musical 2. Here's where things get interesting and I really don't know where I'm gonna go with this. High School Musical 2 Troy gave us You Are the Music in Me and also Bet on It. That's pretty iconic.
Insanely good.
He also finally kissed Gabriella, and side note, we also finally got Chad and Ryan playing baseball and then switching clothes after.
So you call that a little game?
Na 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 na, na 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 na, yeah.
This movie itself was pretty fantastic. I feel like people are gonna really hate me for this, but I think High School Musical 2 Troy belongs in heart eyes emoji.
Whoa.
He's beautiful, he's lovely, but he's just a little bit lost, you know? He's not always honest with himself. It takes Gabriella, as usual, standing up for herself and being like, I deserve better, to get him to kind of get his act together.
You don't like the fact that I won. What's the prize?
What's the prize?
Next up, we have the Derby Stallion. I'm not going to talk too much about this because it's one of his first roles, and unfortunately, I'm not a horse girl. We're going to put you in flop doodle. I'm sorry if you can hear this disastrous storm that's apparently going on outside. It's 2020, what else do we expect at this point? Next up we have Dirty Grandpa. Look, it's just not my kind of movie. So yeah, flop doodle. Love you though. Next up we have Zac's show Down to Earth, and this show is actually the reason that I wanted to make this video overall. It was just so inspiring. Basically, in each episode, Zac visits a different country and learns about their environmental practices. You just get to see all these beautiful countries whilst he's learning, and Zac himself is just such a sweetheart. Like, he's just such a sweetie, and that's just so refreshing because he's, you know, a huge movie star, very well known, and yet still kind of dorky and like kind of awkward at times, which is really, really endearing to see in this show. But yeah, obviously on top of that, I just loved learning about all of these environmental things, and especially the episode where he learns about the centennials and the people that are living the longest and how they're thriving on high carb diets. And he's like, but I live in LA, like everyone here is afraid of carbs. I need to get out of this city. It's so toxic.
I'm so happy that I'm eating carbs again.
Wow, look at that.
It's also a pesticide.
So I was just really proud of him. So Down to Earth and real life Zac Efron is going to God tier. Now you might be wondering, but Ali, Down to Earth isn't on Australian Netflix. How did you watch that? I'm so glad you asked. So it's really frustrating for me to have Netflix and all these subscription services, but like such limited amount of content that we have access to here in Australia. So I've actually been using a VPN service for almost a year now, and basically what it does is you can change your computer's location. The one that I use is called Getflix, and if I go and turn Getflix on, it will just switch my location to America. So therefore I'll refresh Netflix and all of a sudden I have access to these shows that I didn't have before. So right now Getflix provides access to over 600 channels around the world. Some of the most popular ones are like American Netflix, HBO, Amazon Prime, Hulu, all of those kind of streaming services that, you know, we can access, but we have such a limited amount of content on there. And it's great. I can just switch back and forth super easily. I seriously cannot recommend this enough. I've been using Netflix all year. I mean, especially in quarantine, it's just so helpful because I think I would have torn through the Australian content on Netflix within like a week. So having access to everything else basically is very handy. So yeah, thank you Netflix for sponsoring today's video. I really hope you guys use it. I'll link their website and information down below. So next up we have Extremely Wicked, Shockingly Evil and Vile. This movie was in fact the reason that I had to create the bottom tier because he's charming, he's gorgeous, he's very intelligent, don't get me wrong. However, he is a literal murderer. Therefore, Zac as Mr. Ted Bundy needs to go straight to 2020, do not pass go, do not collect $200, jail. Chair, but make it electric, you know? Next up we have Bad Neighbors. This movie was surprisingly a lot better than I thought it would be, and Zac is just the perfect frat boy.
Looks like something a gay guy designed in a laboratory.
I think any fraternity would really benefit from having Zac as their president. I wouldn't watch them again, but I think Zac was very well cast and his character is pretty cool. Not my type, but you know, were I in a fight? After Baywatch Zac, this is the first Zac I would call on, so I'm gonna put him in thank you but no. Now we're up to Hairspray, which I have so many thoughts about. This movie is so feel good and just so well cast, so beautiful, and Zac especially as Link. Not only does Larkin stand up to bullies.
Perhaps you'd like to share with the rest of the class Patrick Henry's immortal last words.
Kiss my ass?
He also said body positivity and Black Lives Matter. For a man of that time, we have to stand. Obviously, my actual crush in this movie is Seaweed, rightfully so. He's the most divine human ever. Those dance moves, are you kidding me? But Link deserves God tier. He really is the lady's choice. Now we are up to High School Musical 3. Again, I know this is a very contentious issue, the ranking of the 3 films, but High School Musical 3 is the best threequel ever made, and you can quote me on that. This is when Zanessa were at their prime, and now that they're single, I still hold out hope that they'll maybe end up together. This Troy was just an evolved, elite Troy, you know? He had more clarity in who he was. We got the infamous scream scene. Not many people know this, but Christopher Nolan actually took inspiration from that scene to create Inception. You know, I don't think Inception was as good as High School Musical 3, but they tried. I mean, we have right here, right now, Can I Have This Dance? The boys are back. Are you kidding? This Troy is an elite Troy, and I don't know whether I want to say this on camera, but the scene where he has his little moment to himself in the locker room and he's putting his jersey on, this is when he's like properly an adult with like adult muscles. It was a good time, you know, it was a good time. So with all that said, I think it's no surprise that I'm putting High School Musical 3 Troy in the God tier, where he belongs. I feel very happy about that. Okay, next up we have New Year's Eve. Is it New Year's Eve or New Year's Day? New Year's Eve. This is one of those films like Valentine's Day, Mother's Day. Is there another one? Honestly, I do enjoy those celebrity-filled movies that don't really have too much of a plot, but just make you laugh. But I think this is probably the worst of that selection. Zac's hair in this movie is just, call him Lemony Snicket, because it's a series of unfortunate events. There just wasn't that much character development. I think if that movie was on TV, I would watch it, but it's like not my favorite Zac character, you know? So it's one of these two. I think it's going in flop doodle. I'm surprised that I'm putting so many in there. I love Zac, but you know, his characters. Yeah. I just want to emphasize one more time how bad his hair was. Before we move on to Parkland. I feel like everyone has a certain event in history or a certain conspiracy that they have a fixation on. For me, the JFK assassination lives rent-free in my mind, but this movie and this character, they were just okay. You know, if I'm thinking about Kennedy's, Taylor Swift dating Connor Kennedy and that whole thing that I feel like I just imagined, you know, like when you'd see them together and she's so beautiful and put together, like she's going to church and he looks like her son that she's picking up from a baseball game. But them dating gave me Starlight, so love that. Back to JFK, the other Kennedy. This movie, his character doesn't really get much development, obviously, because it's not about him, but he was good in it. I think I'm gonna give him thank you, but no, you know, out of respect. Next up is Summerland, and you know what? I'm glad we're talking about this.
I'm glad you brought it up because I've been dying to talk about it.
Summerland is, without a doubt, the most underrated TV show of all time. We have Jesse McCartney at his peak. We have a young Zac Efron. We have a criminal. I watch this show with my friends every summer. It's such a delight. Zac's character, Cameron, is fine. He's a little oblivious at times, but like mostly lovable. Kind of like the perfect first boyfriend, you know? He's a little bit annoying when he runs for class president and doesn't really want to make any changes. He just wants the prestige of the position. He is a sweetheart though. So he's gonna go in, thank you, but no. Cameron, I love you. You're just too young. Next up, we have The Greatest Showman. I went and saw The Greatest Showman 3 times at the movies, and that's not something I do very often or at all really, but this was just a movie that made me feel so many things so deeply, and it was so feel good. Like you walk out of that movie being uplifted. Phillip Carlisle kind of reminds me of Link in a certain way because he had all of this privilege, he had all of this wealth, he was a rich white man from a certain family in a certain time, and yet he was like, no, I love you, and screw my parents, screw what society says, we're meant to be together. This movie gave us Rewrite the Stars, which is one of the best movie musical scenes I've ever seen. Just the choreography and the way they pulled that off was spectacular. Also at the end, when he finally becomes the showman and slides in, my heart.
This is the greatest show.
Beautiful, beautiful moment. He's not quite God tier, but he is very dreamy.
He's very dreamy, but he is not the sun. You are.
So for that, he's going in heart eyes emoji. I just love that movie so much. Next up, we have The Lucky One.
Can I help you?
I'm a sucker for a good Nicholas Sparks movie. I love them. They're successful for a reason. A love story. Who doesn't love that? His character probably should have been honest up front about who he was. That's not great. But the way he is with the girl and her son and how he protects her from the abusive ex-husband. I think in his core, Logan is a beautiful human. He makes me want to cook jambalaya.
Do you like jambalaya?
He's going in heart eyes emoji. He's not quite God tier, no way, but he's better than Thank You But No. Finally, we have We Are Your Friends. It's a really good movie. Is it? It's an okay movie. I couldn't get around the fact that it was Seneca Crane from the Hunger Games movies. Like I couldn't see him as anything else. But Zac's character was good. I definitely believed him as like an up and coming wannabe DJ living in LA. I could definitely see him in that role. However, if I wanted to listen to music from a wannabe DJ, it would be Becca from Pitch Perfect. Now, a fun fact that I learned about this movie when researching for this video is that it's in the top 11 lowest box office openings ever. Like out of all the movies, this was 11th, which is not great. I think that tells you that this is gonna go in Thank You But No. He was a decent guy, but his friend did overdose on his watch and die, so I feel pretty good about this ranking. Obviously, I wish all of the High School Musical Troys could be in the God tier, but I just feel like that would be a bit of a cop-out, so I had to mix it up a little, you know? Okay, this is really awkward, but I realized I forgot a movie. I forgot Are We Officially Dating / That Awkward Moment. I don't know how to add something to this tier, so mentally, we're gonna put him in Thank You But No. Just not my type. But I do love the scene where he teaches Miles Teller how to pee with a... Okay, so in the comments below, the thing that I most want to hear is your personal ranking of the High School Musical films, along with that, like your argument for why, because this is something that none of my friends agree with me on. None of them think that High School Musical 3 is better than 1. It just is. I'm sorry, but High School Musical 3, the budget for that, the songs on that, the quality of that. Also, that premiere is where I met Zac for the second time, so that was fun. Also, if they make Legally Blonde the musical into a film adaptation, I need Zac to play Warner. Think about how perfect that would be. He also would have been great in Enchanted as James Marsden's part. Basically what I'm saying is Zac needs to do more musical roles. Well, thank you so much for watching today, guys. Give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe down below if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!